So this is a model of a Syrian Panzer IV from roughly 1967. It was used in the 6 Days War against Israel, not very effectively really, and was actually for a while the main tank in the Syrian army. They received all sorts of different makes and models, marks and models even. A lot of them were cobbled together out of the myriad of vehicles that were left after the Second World War, abandoned, destroyed, broken down. They were collected up all over Europe. All sorts of vehicles were collected up all over Europe. They came initially, France sold a load. They had, as we already explored, they had Panthers. They used quite a lot of German vehicles. Now they had possibly 40 or 5 or 11, depending on which source you believe. The Czechs, who had actually had an army of 245 of them until 1954, and they had to use T-34s. They sold 62 to the Syrians in total at roughly £110,000 a pop at the time. I'm not sure what that would work out nowadays, but can you imagine being offered a Panzer IV for £110,000 now? Oh, yes, please. Spain sold them 17 as well. They had them from the Germans during the Second World War, when Hitler was trying to persuade Mussolini to join in, so he gave them all sold. I'm not entirely sure. 17 Panzer IVs, which they then sold on to the Syrians. The French, in the way that the French tend to do, had sold these vehicles to the Syrians. Had also sold armour to the Israelis. They were trying to be fair to everybody, shall we put it that way. They were the colonial power, I believe, in Syria, so perhaps that's why. Right, its first engagement came in 1964. Bear in mind they'd been in service for 14 years by then with the Syrians. And it was fascinating enough. In 1964, Panzer IVs engaged Sherman M4s. I'm not sure if these would be the Super Shermans that the Israelis had or the standard ones they used, but imagine that last battle between Panzer IVs and Shermans was in 1964. It's incredible, isn't it? By 1967, these were facing Centurions. That's only going to go one way, isn't it? You would feel fairly sorry for the crews, frankly. Particularly as well as the vehicles were actually had a maximum speed of 10 miles an hour due to their age, and spares weren't getting any easier to find by this stage. By 1967 they had 24 left, and by June of that year they had all been destroyed. Hardly surprising, really. I mean, I suppose it's a testament to the bravery of the Syrian troops that they actually went head to head. Although I have heard stories of Syrian gun crews being chained to their artillery pieces to stop them running away. 6 remain. 4 are in the Israeli vehicle park, I suppose you'd call it, at Latrun. 2 are elsewhere, and I've forgotten to write down where they were. And not one IDF vehicle was lost. Not one. Shows the impact they had, really, wasn't it? So the model itself is a Tamiya Panzer IV Aus J. Not a lot to actually do with this vehicle. If you want a fairly simple and interesting conversion, you need to do, first of all, make these 2 boxes here, alter these track, put these track on here rather. There could be another piece on there, and I've forgotten to put the bit on the front, unfortunately. You need a DSHK machine gun, which came from a dreadful, it was a motorised model of a T-72. It was absolute rubbish. And make this ring mount and the ammunition box. Not actually very difficult. Spray it green. I did leave off both these sections of armour here because that was what I was shown in photographs of some of these vehicles, and I thought it looked quite interesting. Yeah, spray it green and add a couple of slogans on each side. I don't know what they actually say. I'm thinking probably not a lot. It's not easy, I find, freehand writing Arabic in this scale. And, oh yes, the crew figure. As you can imagine, there aren't a great deal of 148th Syrian Army of the 6 Day War figures. This was a farmer from, I think, the Tamiya British Infantry set. Uniforms fairly accurate, and the headgear, I was trying to recreate a little Russian tank helmet. I don't think I've done too bad a job of it. it could be better. It's the first time I've ever really tried converting a figure like that, but as I said, they're not very easily available, they're not very widely available, and there's a fairly narrow range of 1/48 figures actually, certainly ones that I managed to come across. So that's it, the history of the Panzer IV in the Six Days War.